Hello, all you speed racers out there. My name is Olivia. You are currently listening or watching the Orange Blossom Special Show wherever you are at. This is a podcast dedicated to the ones we've lost, learning to laugh, heal, repeat along the way, and just learn to live life in the fast lane. Okay, so today's episode, I am going to be teaching you guys about the important business lessons that my dad taught me and some of the business lessons that I have learned in business school. So make sure you hit that subscribe, follow button wherever you are at. And with that, let's get her going with today's episode. So, business lessons from my dad, okay? It is important to note that when I talk about this, that my dad originally is an introverted person. And if you didn't know him, you would never have thought that, because one of the lessons he gave me, or things that he had to learn, was that he had to, I don't say learn how to finesse people, but you have to learn to communicate with people. You have to learn to be approachable and likable and be able to build rapport with people. The perception people have of you matters, whether you like it or not. And it all depends on your industry, your field. But generally speaking, if you are in business, if you are an entrepreneur, you have to understand, one, to not take offense to every single thing that every person fucking says on the planet of the earth. And two, you also have to understand that it's not being like manipulative to force people to like you, but if you are genuinely like trying to do well in business, you need to have some type of likability. You aren't Bill Gates. You aren't a billionaire. You can't just tell people to fuck off because you have fuck off money. You have to be able to get yourself to that point. And if you are someone who has integrity, honor, character, and you know that you do things the correct way and that you don't have ill intentions towards people, then there is so much pressure that you end up taking off of yourself because you have confidence in the decisions that you make. Like, it's important to know that the people who you surround yourself with in business is also equally important. You want to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. I have no idea how some people have gotten to the point where they think it is a good thing to be in a room where you are the smartest person there. No, you want to learn from everyone. You want to learn from everyone in different environments, people who do different things than you. So my dad was a retired chiropractor, and this is when these two things kind of tie together. So his demographic, or his patients, were like people who were in car accidents, people who had chronic pain. And you have to ask yourself, if you are in business, who is my target audience? What product or services am I selling? And who, at the end of the day, are these things geared to? And you want to put yourself in environments and in places where these people are. And doing that means that you want to diversify yourself. So my dad made sure he knew the lawyers and other doctors and police departments, like people who he knew would refer him patients. And in business, when you are getting clients, when you are trying to promote a good or service, you have to know where your patient is. You have to know where your consumer is at. Because if you cannot place your goods or product or services in the hands of your consumers, you will never make money and you will never succeed. And you never know who's going to be a potential client, and you never know who knows someone. And the one thing that every single one of my dad's friends would always say when he passed is that your dad never judged or treated anyone different based off of how much money they had or what it is that they did. Because my dad knew that you never know who knows someone. And just because someone isn't a millionaire doesn't mean that they don't know people who would potentially purchase goods and services from you, or know people who would be good for you to network with. And I think that when you have that approach in life, one, it makes you more approachable and it makes you more likable. But two, like, people value authenticity. And when you know to treat everyone the same, it doesn't matter who you're with or who you're talking to, people will see that and they will value that, because you never want to have the intentions of wanting to network and meet with people because they're you want to manipulate people. I think that my dad being around so many different people, to me, instilled the I'm not trying to get something from you, but I'm interested in what it is that you do, because people like to talk about themselves. Even if someone is introverted, okay? Even if people are introverted, they light up when you start to ask them more in-depth questions, when you give them an opportunity to be able to talk about what it is that they do and talk about what it is that they're passionate about. And so many people, especially my friends who are introverts, a lot of them are like, we're just waiting for people to ask us questions. Some of them are, some of them aren't. You need to understand the cues. But it's just so funny because some of my dad's friends who like literally did not like him because they thought he was so fucking annoying when they first started, like, these dogs in my apartment. So because they're like, oh, he's loud, he's obnoxious, like he talks a lot. And then they realize, like, oh, he's actually equally good at listening to people. And if you want him to help solve your problems, he will help solve your problems. But he's also a soundboard for a lot of people. And I think, like, another aspect too, when we want to learn about business and we want to learn about business strategies, is there are so many people who will tell people what it is that they need or want versus asking, okay, what aren't you getting in the market? Like, what aren't you getting from your shopping experience now? And what can we do as a company to really hone in on that? Because at the end of the day, like, it's important to recognize that when you are in business and you are wanting to sell something, you have to ask yourself, what problem am I solving? If you can figure out how you solve people's problems, you will always find a way to be in business. Because at the end of the day, so much of our behavior when it comes to purchasing products and services is revolved around what we don't have and how we can essentially, like, fix our lives. Like, you go to, I don't say like you go to the gas station, but for example, like, you go and get fast food because you're either tired or you don't feel like cooking dinner, or they're giving a convenience to you of you being able to have more time that you wouldn't have if you were cooking at home, and vice versa. So it's important to ask yourself this, because when you are looking at your business strategies and when you want to have a plan for whatever business it is whatever business it is, whether you are selling a service to somebody, whether you are selling a product to somebody, you have to ask yourself, what problem am I solving and how am I going to solve the problem? And what is going to make my company different than a competitor? And again, like, I think it's important to also understand that we have gotten to this capitalistic point where people want to nickel and dime everyone for different things. And I live in Tampa, okay? And this is why I have beef with a lot of the restaurant culture in Tampa, is because you go to New York City, right, where there is more competition. So you have a block and there's 7 restaurants on that block. And they're fighting for every single person that walks down that block to go into their doors versus the person across the street. So they have to have good service. They have to have good food quality. They have to be, if you're not competitive in your pricing, then you have to be competitive in the service. Tampa doesn't really have that competition yet. So I have personally found it's a mix of 50-50 of restaurants who know that there's not many competitors out there and that they can do what they want and not offer good service because they're just in a high traffic flow area where people don't have a lot of options. And then 3 months, not 3 months, but like a year or two later, they're wondering, oh my gosh, why is this place closing? Well, it's because your prices were too high and you weren't giving the service that is expected if someone is purchasing, if someone is going to spend a lot of money on dinner, right? If you go to a restaurant and you're spending more than like $50 a head on dinner, there is a expectation of the level of service that you get versus if you're going to a place where you're spending $20 to $30, right? And we have gotten to this point with inflation specifically, and it's across so many different areas. It's, you go to the salon and now a $50 haircut is now $80 because they're charging you to blow dry and style your hair, which is supposed to be a given because they have to wash your hair to cut it. So it's those things that people are so hung in on wanting to try to make up their investment as quick as they can versus trying to focus on longevity, building long-term customers, building relationships to have that money coming in long term, because they cannot seem to get past the money that they are making today. And that, I think, is a huge, huge, huge thing that a lot of businesses are missing out on, because you have to have a plan. You have to have a business strategy. So many people, I think, just try to throw all the darts. So many people want to throw all the darts at the dartboard at one time and not recognizing that try a couple and see what sticks and lands and focus on those things. Because I went and I got my master's in marketing, and I love social media. Social media is really, I won't say like it's really important to me, because it is, but I love social media. I love creating content. But I also understand that you also have businesses where social media isn't their bread and butter. And we somehow we have gotten to this point with marketing where everyone thinks that social media is the end all be all. And there are a lot of people who, they don't see the value in social media because, one, it's like a relatively newer concept, but because if you were to look at the business models for a lot of businesses, maybe like 15% of them are dependent on social media and the rest aren't. And depending on how much of your product you want to sell, depending on the demand that you can take, some people, they might want to gear away towards it, because if they get too much demand, then they don't have the supply or the amount of time to keep up with the influx of people. So it is important to ask yourself, like, again, where is your customer at? Because if your customer or consumer isn't on social media, or maybe they're on Facebook, or maybe they're on Twitter, or maybe they're on TikTok, really honing in on where that demographic is will really help you further your business strategy, and I think really give you an idea of how am I going to scale my business this year, next year, and what can I do to put plans and systems in place to help really streamline this process. Because social media can break your business as much as it can build it. And I think that's one thing that I think I see a lot of like businesses and everything miss out on. And the other thing that I see too is there are companies out there, and they'll have the same strategy for every business, and they'll do the same content. And it is so important that when you are creating the voice of your business, that it really stands out. When you are creating the voice of your business, that it really stands out. And that is why it is so important to be approachable, to be likable, because you want people to think of your brand first. You don't want people to think of other options. The more options someone has, the less likely they are to choose your brand. You want to be the top of mind when it comes to whatever product or service you sell. If you sell coffee, you want someone to think, oh, I need to purchase coffee. I'm going to go get it from this person. The best, I'm telling you guys right now, if there is one thing, we'll say two things, but like, if there is one thing you need to take away from this, the one thing that I can ever teach you about business is that the best customer you will ever freaking have in your life is a lazy one. A lazy customer. People are dumb. You have to hold people's hands, okay? You don't want people to have to think about making a business decision. You don't. You want them to see your brand. If you cut hair, you want someone to think, I love that person. They cut my hair. I don't want anyone else to cut my hair because of the product or service or what it is that they give me. If you go to a doctor, you want them to be the only person that they want to go to. You want to take away the decision making as much as you possibly can. And who do you think someone is going to go to? Someone who they know, who they have a relationship with, or someone who they kind of know? And they're like, I don't know. Let me just go to this person. No. You want to be the top of mind whenever someone is purchasing a good, a product, or service. Marketing is all psychology. People get decision fatigue because they're lazy, okay? It's like you go to the grocery store. There's 500 options of sodas. I live in Florida. Oh, I'm just going to go get a Coke because that's just what I know. That's just what I'm familiar with. At the end of the day, everyone is all 8 years old. They want what they have been exposed to already. They are less inept to try something new. So don't give people options. If you are a doctor, if you are giving a service, if you are a restaurant owner or a coffee shop owner, you want people to come to you first. You want everyone else to be a second option. You want to be the priority. When you are the priority, you make money. When you are the priority, you make money. People will drive to you. People will go to places where they see value. People will spend money when they see value. People want to spend their money. They want to feel good about spending their money. Make sure you engrave that in your brain. No one wants to go to a fucking restaurant where they get shitty ass service, spend $300, and then are like, that was a huge waste. I never want to go there again. Okay? I have like a shit list of restaurants. Don't even get me started on that. So people want to spend their money. They want to feel good about spending their money. You need to be likable. You want to be the top of mind when it comes to people purchasing goods, product, or services from you. Don't give them another option. And the more people perceive you, I don't say like as being good, but the more highly perceived you are, the more likable you are, the more inept you are to make money. What bar are you going to go into? Hey, how are you? Is this your guys' first time? Yes. Oh my gosh. My name's Olivia. I'm here to take care of you. If you need anything, let me know. If you're wondering about drinks, these are my 2 favorites we have on the menu. Oh my gosh, that sounds so great. Why don't you get 2 of those going for us right now? Fantastic. Or do you want to go in? You're going to have to wait 30 minutes. Wait 30 minutes. Yeah, if you could just give me a few minutes, I'll be right with you. You see the difference? You hear the difference? You got to hold your consumer's hand. You got to hold your client's hand. Business is all psychology at the end of the day, okay? I don't really know what else I can tell you right now. I mean, there's a lot more that I can tell you, but I think for this business lesson today, I think that is some of the most important things that I can teach you. All right? Don't be a hothead. Don't let your ego get in the way. Be likable, be approachable, give people good service, give people a good product. Money will take care of itself. All right. So thank you guys so much for choosing to listen to this podcast. Thank you so much for choosing to talk to me today, or I don't say talk, but thank you guys so much for letting me talk your ear off. As always, make sure you have your morning coffee, take your morning shit, and learn to live life into gear. All right. Bye.